What's going on, everyone? Austin here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the extra points NFL playoff predictions. You'll see here, these are the teams that are left in the NFL playoffs. I didn't do a video at the beginning of the playoffs, but just for good faith, I'll show you the bet that I made. You can see there January 10, 2022, so that was 8 days ago from right now, I think. Got this all completely right so far. Some of the picks weren't hard. I only picked one upset. Only one team got upset, so, give or take, we'll see. But these are the 8 teams remaining in the NFL playoffs. We've got the Titans and the Packers coming off a bye, playing the Bengals and 49ers respectively. And then some of the most exciting teams in the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champions, taking on the Los Angeles Rams. My first prediction for this game is that Derrick Henry comes back with full force. He had like 950 yards or something like that in 8 games, and I have no reason to believe that he's going to slow down coming back. I believe that he could have come back week 18, but they held him out another 2 weeks, and there's no reason to think that he's going to have any rust. Especially considering his position is basically just run people over. This Bengals defense is good, not great. They're not going to be able to stop Derrick Henry, and arrested A.J. Brown, and arrested Julio Jones. And on the other side, the Titans defense, they're able to get pressure rushing just 4, which is not going to match up well with this porous Cincinnati offensive line. As much as the Cincinnati Bengals have been a great story, getting their first playoff win since 1991 or 1990, I believe. I'm not really sure. This is where their season ends. This one's going to be a little bit controversial, but I've got the Bills moving on past the Kansas City Chiefs. They pretty much built their entire offseason around beating the Kansas City Chiefs, and they beat them up earlier this season. Almost every single playoff team that the Chiefs faced beat them. The Chargers beat them once. Ravens didn't make the playoffs, but they beat them. The Titans beat them. The Bengals beat them. They did beat the Steelers and the, Aaron Rodgers-less Packers, but, I think there's just something about this Chiefs team. Like, their offense can't quite get it done against the good teams. Mahomes, I've said it once, I'll say it again, Mahomes can only look fantastic on days where his receivers are wide open. And this Buffalo team, especially this defense, they are the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, and they had 0 Pro Bowlers, meaning that there is very few weaknesses. There's a lot of depth. There's almost going to be no weakness, whether there's a rotational player coming back in or, any section of the field. You can't really pick it apart. Defensive line, linebackers, especially their secondary with, guys like Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. It's very excellent. And the Buffalo Bills are going to be moving on 36-24. We've all seen how well Josh Allen is playing. We saw what Joe Burrow did against the Kansas City Chiefs back in week 17. And I think that Josh Allen's going to do at least that. Next, we've got the Green Bay Packers beating up on the San Francisco 49ers in a rematch of the 2018 NFC title game? No. 2019 NFC title game, I'm sure. The 2019 season, at least. But this one shouldn't be that controversial. Green Bay is the biggest favorite out of all the games this weekend. Tennessee's favored by 3, Kansas City's favored by 2, Green Bay's favored by 6, and Tampa Bay, I believe, is favored by 2, maybe 3. But Green Bay beating San Francisco shouldn't be that controversial. Aaron Rodgers this season is 13-2 when he plays. His only losses are an overtime game where he scored like 34 points to Minnesota, and that weird week 1 game against the New Orleans Saints. Otherwise, Aaron Rodgers, complete baller. Now, this San Francisco 49ers front 7 has been able to get pressure on teams, but the Packers look a little bit more physical than they have in years past. I think a lot of that starts with A.J. Dillon and his forcefulness behind that offensive line, kind of forcing them to play a little bit more physical style of football. And then we've got Zadarius Smith coming back. I believe this is going to be his first game back from injury. I'm not sure if Jair Alexander is going to be healthy. He came back to try to ramp up a little bit in the Lions game in week 18, got banged up again. I haven't looked to see whether he's coming back or not. But the Packers defense has been playing well this season. I believe they've been playing a little bit better than they actually are, which can bite you in the playoffs. But when you've got Aaron Rodgers backing you up on the other side, keeping you off the field as a defense, giving the team long drives and things like that, allowing you to just kind of pin your ears back, go for interceptions, go for sacks. This Packers team should be really good. And next, I've got the Los Angeles Rams topping the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by a pretty wide margin. Tom Brady, when everything is not stacked in his favor, is not the GOAT. He's barely a good quarterback unless everything is in his favor. Last year in the NFC title game, Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions, but was still able to get the victory because his team is so stacked that the Green Bay Packers just couldn't even respond. What I see here is Rams have a better quarterback. Rams have healthier wide receivers. Rams have it's not a better offensive line, but it's a healthier offensive line. And so subbing in guys that aren't used to playing the position, especially going up against Aaron Donald, could bode really well for the Los Angeles Rams. Tampa Bay is beat up. They're missing the running backs. Cam Akers is coming back for the Rams, and he played really well in the game against the Cardinals. I believe he's going to play really well in this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Overall, I think the Tampa Bay defense is really good, but it's very, very hard to keep the Rams from scoring 25 plus points every game. And so that's what's going to be happening in this matchup. A little vindication for Matthew Stafford, who the whole talk around him in Detroit, which is basically where I'm from, is that it was his fault that the Lions couldn't win and that the Rams made a mistake giving us 2 first-round picks. Yeah. Dude's played 1 playoff game for the Rams, already has 3 touchdowns, which is over half of what Jared Goff had in his entire career here in Los Angeles. And so now we're in the conference championship games. We've got the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans, the number 3 seed Buffalo Bills. We've got the number 1 seed Green Bay Packers and the 3, 4 seed Los Angeles Rams. Coming out of the AFC, I have the Tennessee Titans. As good as I think the Bills are, I think their season ends in the conference championship game for a second year in a row, mainly for the reason that Tennessee has the singular easiest playoff game out of any team in the AFC. They have to play the Bengals to get to the conference championship, and that's it. The Bills had to play the Patriots, their division rival, and then they had to beat the Chiefs, and now they're going to have to go on the road to the Titans. See, whereas the Titans, they're home against the Bengals, and then they get to host the conference championship game. I think the fact that Derrick Henry's rested and healthy, the fact that this team has used an NFL record 88 different players this season, the fact that Mike Vrabel is probably the smartest coach left in the playoffs, at least as far as kind of rigging the game in his favor by being smarter than the other coach. Mike Vrabel is there. You've got the 2 wide receivers who are going to match up really well against that Buffalo secondary. That Buffalo secondary is really good. And that's why Tennessee is going to be utilizing their 2 really good wide receivers out there to get some space for Derrick Henry, who, as good as the Buffalo Bills are, they can kind of get run on, but they can also get pressure on the quarterback. And so that's why I think this Derrick Henry game is going to be really important for him and his legacy, carrying this team to a Super Bowl. This is kind of like the last hope for running backs because, this year, the best running back in the NFL, Jonathan Taylor, couldn't even get his team to the playoffs. So Derrick Henry coming back, saving the Titans season, getting them to the Super Bowl. But the question is, are we going to be able to see a rematch of the greatest show on turfs first Super Bowl win? Are the Los Angeles Rams going to be able to make it to face the Texans? And the answer is an astounding probably not. The Green Bay Packers are just too good. The Green Bay Packers have a more consistent running game with better running backs. They've got a better offensive line. They've got the better quarterback. They've got a equal, probably better number one wide receiver. While I would give the overall receiving core edge to the Los Angeles Rams, the number one definitely goes to Davante Adams. Last time we saw them match up in Green Bay, I personally went to that game. Jalen Ramsey did not travel a lot with Davante Adams. He was with him for about 10 snaps, 5 targets, and gave 50 yards, which is the most yards he's given up in a single game to a single receiver all season, meaning that even when Jalen Ramsey was on Davante Adams, he's the best receiver in the NFL going up against the best defensive back in the NFL. And the receiver kind of won that matchup. On the defensive side, Aaron Donald is good, but the Packers, although their weakness is kind of on the inside of the offensive line, the Packers offensive line is good enough to mitigate it. I think that the only way that the Rams have a chance at winning this game is their 2 linebackers on the outside getting excellent pressure while Donald kind of forces everyone to suck him up in the middle. I don't believe it happens. I don't really believe in the Rams' offensive or defensive lines. And so that being said, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers make it to their second Super Bowl in the last 20 years, which is a ridiculous thing to think that they've had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers for the last 29, 30 something, 32 years, I think. And they've made it to 2 Super Bowls. But there's redemption. They're making it back. So do we have the best running back in the NFL beating the best quarterback in the NFL? The answer is no. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's a bad man, to quote Stephen A. Smith. Tennessee Titans, this is where their season ends. Now, I've got it as a relatively close game, as a relatively high-scoring game, mainly because the Packers' defense can be run on. The only team that I'm afraid of beating them in the NFC would be the San Francisco 49ers, strictly because it matches up so well with the 49ers. They can run the ball incredibly well, and they've got some creative plays. The Rams can't. I think the Rams are better than the 49ers against every other team, but the Rams don't have the running game to keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. The Bucs don't have the running game to keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. This matchup right here, it should be really good if we get to see this. You're going to have 2-star wide receivers on the Titans and a phenomenal Hall of Fame type running back in Derrick Henry. It's an opportunity for Ryan Tannehill to kind of get the monkey off his back, saying, he can't take a team to the Super Bowl. We've seen a lot of average NFC quarterbacks the last several years in the Super Bowl. Guys like Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo. We've seen Matt Ryan. Obviously, most recently was Tom Brady. But I think it's time for an average quarterback to come out of the AFC to get toppled by the best quarterback to ever play the game of football in Aaron Rodgers. All right, guys, thanks for watching that video. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you have going to the Super Bowl on each side. Let me know what you think the most interesting matchups are going to be. I'm going to be taking a look at that later on. I'll probably post it either on my Instagram or on my Twitter. Go ahead and follow me. Some of the other videos have my handles in them. But be sure to like and subscribe. And like I said, let me know what you think in the comments down below.